Hey, everybody, welcome back to RPG Imaginings. Happy March. And Chaosium is celebrating the release of an updated version of Nameless Horrors, which was published, I think, around 2014. It was in the very early days of Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. And so it might even be its 10th anniversary. The book is releasing on March 8th. And here I have an exclusive preview for you on RPG Imaginings of the PDF. And so I'm excited to share this with all of you, and let's go ahead and dive right in. And so here we have the PDF. I'm obviously not going to show the entire book, but I do want to highlight some examples of things that have been altered and changed and updated in Nameless Horrors. Many of the scenarios in this book are considered modern classics. I think particularly The Moonchild by Paul Fricker. And so let's go ahead and take a look. Now, the cover art is absolutely spectacular. This is some of the coolest cover art that I have seen for a Call of Cthulhu supplement. So already, right out of the gate, it is awesome. The book is, of course, done by the trio of Paul Fricker, Matt Sanderson, and Scott Dorward, who run the Good Friends of Jackson Elias podcast. And they are well-known authors who also contributed heavily to the 7th edition of Call of Cthulhu. If my voice sounds a little scratchy, it's because I just came back from con and there was a lot of yelling and stuff. I feel good. I don't have any con illness, but voice was definitely compromised by the con. So, yeah, let's just continue on and see what's going on with the updated version of Nameless Horrors. And so there is an introduction, which I will show you in full, and then there are 6 scenarios in this supplement: an amaranthine desire, a message of art, and some fell on stony ground, bleak prospect, the moonchild, and the space between. And this supplement has a really good mixture of gaslight 1920s and modern scenarios. The moonchild is classified as a modern scenario, but we're already looking at a scenario that was set 10 years earlier than now. And so I think technologically there's some differences that make the Moonchild arguably even more fun and interesting now than when it was first published. Another cool thing that I just want to point out about this is that in this update, Chaosium has updated all of the player handouts and maps. Everything that you would normally expect from a Chaosium supplement, such as player maps, keeper maps, pre-generated investigators, those are all included in extra files. I should probably mention that this is a sponsored video in case that wasn't clear. And I guess one other thing that I would add about this is that whenever you buy directly from chaosium.com, you get the PDF with your purchase. Now, something that has changed about Chaosium products is that they are no longer doing early PDF releases followed by a physical book several months later. Instead, physical books and PDFs are now launching simultaneously. So when this releases on March 8th, you will have the ability to pick up both the hardback and the included PDF, or just the PDF if that is what you prefer. And so obviously in the update here for the art, we're getting full color art, which the original supplement was in black and white entirely. And with this update, we have content warnings, which are very appreciated. And so, we want Call of Cthulhu to be horror, but everybody gets to choose what level of horror or terror they want to engage with. Okay. There are members of the community, who will say that, well, horror is horror and you can't mess with horror. And I'm going to go ahead and wholeheartedly disagree with that, okay? Everybody's tastes for horror are different. And I think that it is important that an individual has choice to be able to decide what kind of horror they want to see or don't want to see in a game. And it is a keeper's responsibility to manage whether or not a player of the group is having their fun maximized. Okay. So if you want to be a better keeper, part of my biggest advice to you is to recognize that your players are going to differ, and keeper alone does not get to decide what level of horror or terror is appropriate for everybody in the group. Everybody gets to make that choice individually. And so we really appreciate the content warning here. All right. So here's our introduction. A famous quote from H.P. Lovecraft: "The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown." So, first paragraph, it's a situation that every keeper has encountered at least once. You're describing the abandoned mine shaft, the way the shadows flicker across the rock. In the lamplight, the sound of dripping water echoing all around, and the disquieting smell of rot permeating the air. The investigators are tiptoeing through this sinister environment, frightened but determined. Suddenly, there is a snarl from behind them. As the investigators spin around, you describe the lantern beam picking out a misshapen figure squatting behind a boulder. The figure hisses through an oddly canine shout. Oh, it's a ghoul, says one of the players. So, the idea behind this supplement, Nameless Horrors, is that each one of these scenarios includes an entity that is not well defined by the Cthulhu mythos. That's sort of the hook of this book. Notice that there is an edition right here for the new edition. This updated edition corrects a handful of errors while also refreshing the arts, maps, and handouts, now all presented in full color and hardback book format. All of the 6 sets of pre-generated investigators included in this book are available to download. Now, there is one more thing that I want to point out that seems very new to me. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on this. But this has been an opportunity for Chaosium to include full color um, handouts of relationship maps, which we haven't really seen too much in Call of Cthulhu supplements for 7th edition. Perhaps more so in campaigns, but that will be an interesting thing for us to check out here shortly. Okay, and here's an overview of each of the scenarios. You can pause the screen if you want to know a little bit more about the scenarios. An amaranthine desire and a message of art are essentially in the gaslight era. And some fell on stony ground is in the classic era. Bleak Prospect is in 1930s classic era, which is not too far afield, not too far afield, was not too far afield from classic era, but it is 1930s. And the Moonchild and the Space Between are set in modern times. Okay, and we have some beautiful artwork of a cultist or someone just generally being burned at the stake with a cultist watching on. Yikes. And now I'm going to go back to the table of contents because I want to go ahead and actually, I think I know the page number. It is 137. Okay, so here we are, the Moonchild. There will be spoilers that you may see here for the Moonchild scenario. So if you plan on playing this scenario, I would recommend turning off the video right now. I'm not going to be talking about specifics of the scenario other than a couple of things that I want to highlight, like the updated layout and artwork and the relationship map that I mentioned. So long as you don't read too much on the screen, you're not going to get spoiled. I'm not going to explicitly discuss spoilers. And so layout is updated to the modern format, including brand new updated handouts and pre-generated investigators, as well as some options that you have for using specific components for this scenario. So as per always with Chaosium supplements, the characters are described up front and what their capabilities are, as well as sort of a timeline of the scenario. We have all new artwork for the Dramatis Personae, which that artwork in a consistent black and white style is some of the art that I love about Chaosium supplements, because it is very easy to get a pulse of what a character looks like to help with imagination at the table. I always show character portraits to my players when they come up. Now, here's one of the relationship maps that I talked about. And so this will show what the relationships are between different characters. Some of this will highlight situational relationships. Some of it will highlight generational relationships like father, son, daughter, etc. And so it is always great in a scenario, an investigative scenario like they are for Call of Cthulhu, for people to be able to see how all the characters can relate to each other at a quick glance. This just helps in running the scenarios, which is always very useful. So we'll check out some of the more artwork of the portraits here. Some of them will have a particularly sinister take on them. which could be a giveaway for your players. And so as a keeper, you want to use your judgment to best decide whether or not uh, revealing a particular portrait at a time is appropriate for a character. And there can be red herrings associated with, how the art is portrayed as well, that you may think someone is sinister and they are actually not. So I'm just going to scroll ahead here so we can get some of the artwork. Full color artwork updated. We have a family tree here for this particular scenario and brand new layout of the house. Cartography is by the wonderful Matt Ryan. And so here we have sort of an isometric view of this particular house, which is slightly different from just a top-down 2D view, but adds a little three-dimensionalness, which can help you to imagine what's going on. So this is where we might get into artwork that are spoilers, and so if you don't want spoilers on artwork, this would be a good time to stop the video. But there's a map, and we're going to get to a point here where there is some gory artwork where I'm not going to portray the full artwork because I don't want YouTube coming after me. Because YouTube has been really cracking down on censorship of images, and so I don't want videos of mine or my channel to become demonetized just because we have gory artwork. So if I were to continue on this page, it would almost certainly be something that YouTube would demonetize me for, so I'm just going to skip ahead to 165 and avoid that. And notice this alternative ending option box, which is one thing that makes Chaosium scenarios, in my opinion, particularly great. Remember, as Mike Mason has always said, that scenario writing is technical writing. You are writing to a keeper to try to explain to them how to best write a scenario. And I was just at Genghis Khan. I'm in Denver. I'm going to be doing a series of videos that are going to be describing my impressions at Genghis Khan. I participated in 8 games. I would say that 5 of them were great, 1 of them was okay, and 2 of them were terrible. And they were really good examples of what to do and what not to do as a GM when you're running games. And the sorts of things that Chaosium is doing in its supplements are things that really can increase the chances of a keeper being successful in running these games. And it's something that I always appreciate for Chaosium scenarios and supplements, because it is not common practice within the industry. And there are game companies that just really don't get it as to what writing is. And Chaosium gets it, and that's one of the greatest things that I value. Ooh, cool tombstone right here with the Cthulhuid motif and skulls. Nice. And then we have our characters at the end of the scenario as we would normally have. And this has been common end of scenario artwork that has been used in recent supplements. It appears in A Time to Harvest, I believe. And then there is imagery for the next scenario, which I will show you just because it looks really cool. And so there it is. So thanks everybody for watching RPG Imaginings. I hope you appreciated this preview of Nameless Horrors, and remember, it will go on sale on March 8th. This video is going live on March 1st, and so yeah, that's a little taste of what you're going to get from Nameless Horror. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day.